have 8 emergency exits, 2 forward exit doors, 4 over wing, and 2 rear exit doors. Flights overhead and flights to wing exit. If an evacuation is necessary, follow flight attendant's family.
I'm going to get on a morning flight. I'm going to take a photo at some point during that flight. The competitors will have to guess the latitude and longitude, and they have no idea where I'm flying from or to.
Dude, first of all, thank you so much for, being able to take part in it. I mean, truly was really fun and sort of had my friends and family buzzed for like a week.
Tornadoes. Magnets. Cash contest. You chose Cash Contest.
This had all started back on Monday when I announced a 5-round cash competition on my channel. I posted this announcement planning on this being a 5-round caption competition. And all participants had to do to enter was caption this photo.
The caption contest was the hardest part because it was both like so obvious and so hard.
By the deadline, I had received 80 entries, a number I was thrilled with. But now I had a problem because this was just a screening round and I had to somehow filter this to just 16 finalists that would enter the 4-day bracket. I lied in the video. I said I had a judging process set up. There's a couple things I'm getting worried about on this front. I soon discovered that judging these was actually kind of hard, especially with so much money on the line. I started to feel overwhelmed and didn't even know if I could trust myself to accurately judge something so subjective. Here's the other thing. I've never really captioned a photo or tried to. It's kind of terrifying to me. Because there's like too many options is what it seems like. And so maybe I should try putting myself in the contestants' shoes before I tried to judge them. So I sat down and wrote several captions that came to mind, but really it just took longer than I thought it would, and I really didn't feel like I was getting anywhere. I realized that captioning was much harder than it looks, especially when other people are going to be judging you for it. I figured just the fact that these 80 people had tried it all was a very honorable step. And I didn't want them to be deterred from future attempts at creativity just because they were told they were unfunny by me. So ultimately, I decided that I would just tell every one of the 80 entrants that they were one of the 16 finalists.
Oh, shit. Oh.
I'd like to run more experiments with lying. I'm not convinced it's always bad. I mean, perhaps just providing, an ounce of validation would spark something inside one of these 80 finalists. So I had my work cut out for me to get things back on schedule, but I fell asleep Monday feeling good about where things stood. Huh, that rhymes.
Hey, why don't you come on down from those clouds? We all care about you, buddy. Come on down now. We don't want to see you get hurt. What do you say? Why don't you come on down? Put on a couple gloves and we'll play around the golf.
Yeah, I had a real weird dream Monday night. I was flying up in these clouds. It was really a pretty cool view. And for some reason, PGA Tour legend Tommy Two Gloves Gainey was trying to get me to come down. He was on the ground, I think. I couldn't see him. I could just kind of hear his voice. So, yeah, that was weird. So when I had come up with this whole idea Monday morning to try a contest this week, in my head I was thinking it would be a 5-round caption contest, and I would just have to pick a new photo for each round. But of course, I quickly realized that I would be faced with the exact same conundrum if I just made today another caption contest like I had initially planned. So I needed to figure out something that required far less creativity and individuality.
The chord one was super interesting because there was no real way to do that.
I needed a challenge that would make the judging process simple, objective, and stress-free. But this still needed to be just difficult or random enough that those eliminated wouldn't be too upset or resort to physical violence against me or others. I asked the 80 finalists to guess the total length end to end of a bunch of miscellaneous chords that I'd shoved into a clear plastic bag.
And so what I did is I got all of the chords I could find in my room, threw them into a similar bag.
So then all I would have to do is use a spreadsheet to rank the top 8 by proximity of guess. The guesses ranged from 10 inches to 2,000 inches. But the correct length was 927 and 1/16 inches. With this round being so objective, I felt much better about notifying the 72 participants who had not advanced. I fell asleep Tuesday in good spirits. I kind of felt good about the week now that I was back on schedule with the round of 8 set for Wednesday. Yeah, I had kind of a bizarre dream. People just kept turning themselves into beans. I think the dream was titled, Human Beings Being Beans, I'm pretty sure. I don't know why the dream had a title. Most dreams don't have titles, but that one did. Anyways, I felt there was some extra pressure on Wednesday's round because this would be the round to determine the final 4. And that sounds quite prestigious. I didn't want to run into a situation where I crowned a champion of this competition, and then it turns out that they were some type of miscreant or something that could tarnish the reputation that I'm trying to build around here. So I thought it would be prudent at this stage to devise a round that would just help ensure the ultimate champion would be, ethically sound, someone who would wear this title with grace, and really just be an individual who accurately demonstrated the stature of this competition to the world. I needed to ensure the final 4 were of strong morals and character. So I ditched any photo competition ideas completely, and instead wrote a short survey questionnaire. It had 3 character screening scenarios in the form of multiple choice questions. The first was an ethical scenario. Kind of a what would you do situation in a common setting, the supermarket. The second was a bit of a test of survival skills and maybe a bit of crisis management. And the last question was just a self-awareness scenario to try to gauge their general sensibilities. So I sent out the survey, but once the responses started coming in, I realized I hadn't learned my lesson, I guess. Because ultimately I decided I just wasn't really in a place where I felt comfortable judging others' character. I probably will be soon, but just not yet. So I just told all 8 people that they had made the final 4. Lying had worked well earlier and made my job easier, so I decided I'd just do that again and save me the hassle of judging these folks.
Pants. What the hell are they? And where did they come from? And why have mainstream textbooks ignored this essential part of our history? We were born from dust, and to dust we return. But until that day, there are things we can learn. All it requires is a curious glance. Welcome to the history of pants.
Yeah, Wednesday I had this dream. I was browsing YouTube and then I clicked on a video essay about the history of pants, but unfortunately I woke up once the intro was over, so I didn't have the pleasure of consuming that video essay. So for Thursday's round, I went back to a cut and dried number-based competition. I came up with a simple guessing game based on the receipts from 3 establishments I had patronized that morning: Dollar General, the grocery store, and a large coffee at the coffee shop. All the contestants could see were pictures of all the items I bought at each place. So they knew all the items on the receipt, but just not the prices. And the game was that they needed to guess the total of each of these 3 receipts multiplied together. I did tell them where I was and where these stores were, just kind of this funny looking county in the corner of Iowa, just to give them as much info as possible on what the pricing might be.
The supermarket one, I'd say, was probably the easiest.
Okay.
Because, you know, I knew the county, so I literally just like went to those stores' sites.
Yep.
And then got like the exact total pretty much.
I thought that the coffee could be a good wild card in this, because that's not quite as predictable as like a national chain's posted prices. It could kind of range from maybe $2.50 to $4, which can be a large difference when it's taken as a multiple of something larger like the grocery store receipt. The guesses were all pretty solid. They ranged from about $800 to $2,600. The correct total was $1,731.95. So I identified the 2 closest guesses, and I had my 2 finalists set for Friday. I can't tell you who the 2 finalists were yet. I need to withhold that information to create some tension for the ending. I felt like the week had gone pretty well, and I didn't know when I would ever be running another contest like this. So, since I had the opportunity, I thought I should try to end this in a slightly more memorable way. So after some exploring, what I did is I booked a 1-day round-trip flight for early Friday morning. I selected this flight because it only had a 30-minute layover before returning, and this would help make for a quick travel itinerary. So the game would be that the 2 finalists would have to guess where a random airplane window photo was taken from at some point during this round trip. All I would tell them is that I left my home in Lee County, Iowa on Thursday afternoon, drove to a city with an airport, and then show them the photo I took and say I took it at some point during a round-trip flight on Friday morning. With so much money on the line, I really didn't want the loser of this competition to, live a life full of regret, or be constantly second-guessing a decision that they felt they should have known in this final round. So I felt this game would help keep things mostly random and be more of a complete shot in the dark. So I drove to the airport in the afternoon, drove through Arby's, got checked in fine, and settled in for the night. And I got pretty tired right away, which was good, because I had to get a good night's sleep for the flight that boarded at 5 a.m. And yeah, gosh, at that point, all I could really do was hope I didn't have any abrasive or alienating dreams. And luckily I didn't. At least none that I could remember. Thing about dreams is, yeah, sometimes you don't remember them. Got up just fine, got out to the airport, and got the big finale started. So here was my plan. I would snap the photo on the outbound flight, and then on my layover, I would send it out with the instructions to the 2 finalists, the 2 closest price guesses from Thursday's round. And also on the layover, I would send an email informing the other 6 of the 8 Final Four participants that they hadn't advanced. Because at this point, I had yet to update anyone from Thursday's round because I had been so busy traveling. Unfortunately, I fell asleep on the first flight and missed a good photo opportunity at cruising altitude. I might have drank too much NyQuil the night before. I don't know. I wanted to make sure I got a good night's sleep with such an early flight, but I guess I never really know how much of the bottle to drink. This delayed my plan by a couple hours, but of course I could just take the photo on the return trip instead. So I waited until about halfway through the flight and snapped this picture. And when we landed, I rushed out of the airport and got on my way home as soon as possible. So I was driving, and then noon rolled around, and I realized I had yet to send out any competition updates. since announcing Thursday's round the morning prior. So everyone was still in the dark. Some of the 8 Final Four participants were getting restless. So I pulled over so I could go ahead and send out the photo to the finalists and notify the others that they had not advanced. But while typing out that message, I realized that 2 guesses wasn't going to be very many. When I actually thought about it, I really wanted more guesses for this final round to kind of help build up the suspense a bit for the end of the video. And at that point, only I knew who had the actual closest guesses from Thursday's round and were the actual 2 finalists. So what I did is I blind copied all 8 finalists so that they couldn't see who or how many people this message was going to. And in this email, I very strongly suggested to each of them that they had advanced and were now among the final 2 participants in the contest, even though 6 of them had no chance at winning this. I simply explained the final round, asked for their coordinate guess for the photo, and how they would spend the grand prize. I figured it wouldn't hurt to let all 8 competitors feel close to being the winner. Maybe it would make them feel a bit more alive, if only for a moment. It's certainly possible that I'd come to abuse this temporary power I'd manufactured for myself. It's also possible I was projecting my own fears onto these participants. The drive home was a long one. The high of the week began wearing off. The momentum was fading. I began to question everything I had done during the past 5 days. It all felt unproductive. Just the delusional, self-indulgent work of a misguided soul. But I told myself that at least it was a step. No matter what this step was, it would lead to step 2, and 3, and 4, and 5, and 6. And yes, steps 7, and 8, and 9, etc. Then a light bulb appeared over my head, metaphorically. I realized I had spent too many years preoccupied trying to brainstorm a perfect step 10, without ever being willing to take step 1. And besides, step 10 will probably be no better than step 1. It'll just be different. Every step is just a step. So maybe I didn't need to go anywhere. Perhaps I just need to see right where I was from a little different perspective. Someone got it. He got it. Somebody got it. This wasn't the point. Okay, yeah, I was kind of trying to trick everyone and create a big finish here. Kind of got beat at my own game a little bit, though. Apparently I provided too many details because 2 people got it exactly right, and one of them was one of the actual 2 finalists. So Flindle was the grand champion, and Chimp Lover got a little bonus.
And truly, not kidding, truly, like, the minute I was about to give up, and then I just sort of saw it, and I zoomed in, and then I realized, like, that is a dead ringer. That is the exact thing. And then I went back to the flight tracking software, chucked it in, saw where the flight was, and was like, yep, there's a Southwest flight there at exactly that time.
And he seemed so happy, and I didn't quite have the heart to tell him this, but it wouldn't have mattered what he guessed in the final round at all, because the other finalist, Ian, completely missed the 10 p.m. deadline.